We are live, brother.
Folks, what is up? And welcome to Vol Talk. This is an unscripted show about all things volunteer sports. That is my brother Austin. I am Blake. And Austin, we have got a pretty jam-packed live show today for the good folks at home. We are talking, unfortunately, first and foremost, we'll rip the Band-Aid off. We're going to talk about the disappointing end to Tennessee baseball season. But Austin, it's a tale of two different teams, brother, because Lady Vols softball is one win away from going to the national championship series and possibly facing Alabama, Austin. So that is absolutely nuts. And then we're going to round it out for the good folks at home with a couple quick updates on football offseason news. So jam-packed stuff, brother.
Yeah, jam-packed. Unfortunately, the baseball season didn't end like we wanted it to. Pretty early exit. But like you said, it comes with some good news as well because the softball team looks like they could be headed to the national championship. So, yeah, pretty exciting show, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fun stuff to talk about a possible national championship in our future with Lady Vol softball. So, folks, listen, if you love Vol sports, if you love talking about Vol sports winning and potentially winning national championships, then smash that like button for us. We would really appreciate it. And then, of course, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we go live, including on Sundays. Austin, we go live on Sundays. We have been late the past couple Sundays, but we'll get back on our rhythm here shortly. But brother, we're gonna, like we talked about, we're gonna kick it off with ripping the Band-Aid off. Okay, we're gonna let folks kind of roll into the show. Okay, we know kind of folks take usually a few minutes to actually get into the show, so we're gonna go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off with Vols baseball first.
Let's
Austin.
do it, man.
So, man, regionals. Okay. First, we got to talk about what we thought could possibly happen ended up happening, which was that we got the difficult regional instead of getting the Hattiesburg Southern Miss regional.
Classic.
We got classic Tennessee, right? We got the Chapel Hill regional with North Carolina. But Austin, the crazy thing is we didn't even end up playing North Carolina before we got booted from the tournament. We lost to ECU, Eastern Carolina, or East Carolina University, and then VCU, Virginia Christian University, and got bounced 0-2, brother, in the regionals. Not what we want to see.
No, it was not what we wanted to see at all, but it was pretty rough, dude. It was pretty rough. Like you said, the story starts with the fact that we got the tough regional, and it wasn't just North Carolina. Like ECU was playing really good baseball leading into the tournament, so it was really tough, man. It was just man, that game one in particular, it was a hard watch. It was a hard watch, man. Went 14 innings, and ECU put all their chips in, man. All their chips in. They started pitching their ace that was going to start in game two. They started pitching him in like towards the end of the game, maybe the 7th-ish inning or so. They put him in. Like I said, they went all in. And the announcer kept saying it's like, oh, both teams are kind of going all in. Kinda, but it was really, at first it was really just ECU, and then Blake, out of necessity, we had to dig deep into the bullpen as well because we ended up going 14 innings. And I think the story of both games, man, is we just couldn't score with runners in scoring position. We just couldn't get a hit. We couldn't find a way on base in those very important moments, especially in the ECU game. Man, you completely changed this narrative if you win game one. Winning game one is critical to moving on in the tournament, man. And in those two games, Blake, we went 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position. I mean, that is just like I told you before the show, man, that's losing baseball.
You're not going to win going 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position. And it's crazy too, Austin, because we are, differential for, I mean, we went into extra innings, against ECU, and then with VCU, obviously we only lost by one run. So it's like, man, you get a couple hits out of that. You just go 3 for 17 or 4 for 17 in with runners in scoring position, and the story might be different. And it's just like, and what did we talk about, Austin, before we got into the tournament? What did we talk about? We said, hey, and obviously it's like the most basic analysis ever, right? But it's like, okay, our pitchers got to be locked in, and our bats have to stay hot. Our bats were hot kind of ending the season. And it's like, okay, this is what we were expecting under Elander. This is what we were wanting. And we're going to need that offensive production to continue. And then all of a sudden, they went cold again at the worst possible moment. And that's the result.
Yeah, exactly. It was really tough because, like you said, towards the end of the year, the bats were really getting hot, and they actually like the lineup just looked better and better. Levi Clark came on. Grindlinger was looking like an all-star. Grindlinger was, I mean, he was MIA this weekend. Not a good weekend to go MIA when everything's on the line, Blake. But he's a true freshman. I mean, he's going to be the core piece of this roster, so we need him going forward. But it wasn't just him, by the way. It was everybody. Everybody went missing. I have to give Henry Ford at least a shout out because he hit the clutch homer against ECU to put us in a position to at least try to win the game. But continuing on the point, man, it's like, especially that ECU game, there was at least 2 to 3 innings in extra innings, Blake, where we had runners in scoring position and just couldn't find that last hit, man. Just couldn't find it. And what really sucks to me is, and I don't know what happened in the game because I didn't watch it, ECU, despite going 14 innings, Blake, almost beat North Carolina. They were so close to beating North Carolina and being up 2-0, which is so crucial in the regional. And so I hate to do this, but like I have to wonder, like, could that have been us? And maybe we had a little bit more left in the tank to actually finish that game and beat North Carolina. So it's tough, man, but definitely not the way we want to end the year.
As the great Robert Nealand said, games are decided by, sometimes how the ball bounces and those small breaks. And we couldn't get over those small breaks and, smallest margins in these games. And yeah, the what if is painful because, man, what if we're the ones playing North Carolina and, are able to win over them instead of ECU. So, yeah, man, it's disappointing, and of course, it begs a very important question, which is something that's kind of a hot topic right now, and it's kind of controversial, right? It's another what if.
Yes,
it's another what if. How do you think this team would have fared in this regional, in this tournament, or in this season in general, under Tony V instead of Elander? Would it have been different?
It's a very fair question, Blake, because the roster wouldn't have been different. The roster would have been the exact same. So it's not like more talent would have been added or anything like that. It's not like there was a mass exodus when Tony left. So the players would have been the same. So it's a very fair question. And I think it really goes back to what you just said a little bit ago. These margins were so small. And if you remember in the beginning of the year, we lost a lot of baseball games like we lost during this regional, Blake. A lot of close ball games. Remember 3 walk-offs in a row to Vanderbilt. Blew 2 leads against LSU. We really should have swept LSU. By the way, both those teams didn't make the tournament. They were not good baseball teams this year. Yep. To me, since I feel like the talent was right there. The talent was right there in some of those series. Now, this isn't the most talented team that in the Vitello era / Elander era. It's definitely not the most talented. However, those small margins, those close games, I do feel like Tony's veteran experience probably would have won some of those series. And I saw the discourse about this. Somebody killed me on Twitter, but because they contradict themselves, it just absolutely kills me. So in one breath, they're like, it's ridiculous to think it would have been any different. The rosters are the same. But then in the comments, people are responding to them. It's like, well, what about all those close games? Kind of like we're talking about. And they said, well, Tony probably would have won a few more of those games, so he probably would have had a 1 seed. I'm like, what? Having a 1 seed is completely different. All of a sudden, we're talking about hosting a regional. And again, a regional where we lost by very thin margins. It's like, dude, I mean, of course the outcome could have been different if you're a 1 seed. You could have made Omaha if you were hosting in the regionals. And remember, Blake, before Vitello left and went to the Giants, we had won 5 regionals in a row. 5 in a row. Yes. And that streak just broke last night. So I think, dude, with all that being said, I think Yeah, I think it would have definitely been different.
Yeah, 5 seasons in a row of winning regionals, and I believe Austin also 6 seasons in a row of 40 plus wins in the season. Also, unfortunately, broke that record.
Yeah.
Now here's the deal. We wanted Elander, right? When Tony, putting aside the fact that Tony V happened, we won't even get into we won't rehash Danny White and losing your national championship winning baseball coach, right?
Yeah. Don't get me
Putting
started
that
on
as
that.
yeah, exactly. Putting that aside, okay, it happened, and so it's like, okay, who do you want to replace Tony V? We were all for Josh Elander.
Yep.
And I think Austin, I think I'm still in that boat. I'm not out on him yet. I think a lot of and you can tell me if you agree with this, it seems like a lot of this is inexperience as a head coach.
Agreed.
And I think over time he may be able to kind of, after another season or two, kind of settle into his head coaching style and then be more comfortable in these situations. Now, I don't, two caveats to that is I don't know if he'll ever have the same kind of fire and energy that Tony V does,
Yeah.
because they're different people.
Yep.
And that's fine, although we're gonna miss the Tony V energy, right? But then two, my worry with what I just said about, okay, it might take a season or two for him to kind of get a little bit more experience as a head coach. My worry is the Tony V effect going to wear off over the course of those couple seasons, and then we're going to lose that momentum, or are we going to be able to maintain that and then him get that experience? Time will tell. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, you said a lot there, and I agree with a lot of it. For one, the fire is going to be gone because they are. I mean, the personalities are completely different. Tony's a very
Yeah.
unique personality, and we talk about that a lot, especially with the lack of coach speak and things like that. He's not scared to say how he's feeling, and that's what leads to some of those fiery exchanges that can fire the team up and things like that. But it's also, I think. Yeah, I think Elander made some rookie mistakes this year, dude. I really do. I mean, even in the ECU game, a couple decisions for pinch hitting and guys that just like are coming off the bench totally cold. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of things that didn't make sense and a lot of changes he didn't make as well. And like I heard somebody made the point that like our pitchers this year with runners on base just were so like occupied with the runners instead of actually getting like a nice pitch and throwing it in the zone, which I found kind of interesting. And then I was like, yeah, that's kind of true. And so maybe that's something he needs to adjust. I think the main thing is though, because this kind of goes to your last point, will Elander be able to continue the momentum of this program? Which I think what we mean by that, Blake, is really talent acquisition.
Right.
Like talent
Recruiting.
acquisition is the biggest part of that because that's, I mean, players win games. We know that. And we talk about that in all sports. And that's a good question. Now, Elander's been a critical part of the recruiting. But listen, there's no doubt that winning matters for recruiting, dude. It does.
Yeah.
And, we won less games than we have in what, like you just said, 5 or 6 years. That's a factor. So it is going to be interesting. Can Elander, and I think that is the main question. And that's what we'll see this year. And listen, I'm not saying fire. I think there are some fans that think, oh, we need to fire Elander. It's like, that's insane, dude. I mean, that's ridiculous to say because as you said, dude, the ideal situation is, oh, well, Tony's back. Like Tony's our coach, but that's not the world we live in. Tony's gone. And
Right.
there's a lot of debates as to why. And some of those are kind of fair, I think, to question that at this point. But dude, I think that will be the question for Elander in the offseason. What is he going to do with the roster? Because the roster needs a lot of work, man. The roster needs a lot of work, especially the bullpen. I was actually really optimistic about the bullpen heading into the year. They were massively disappointing, man. So that's going to be a big question, man. Can Elander rebuild this roster? Because listen, I think this roster was good enough to get to or win a regional, Blake. Were they good enough to get to Omaha? Probably not. Probably not.
Right.
So he needs to get a roster that's good enough to get to Omaha because that's kind of, the expectation that Tony V left Elander with.
Yeah, exactly. And The depth piece, I think, is you hit the nail on the head there, especially in the bullpen, right? He's going to have to, kind of rebuild that, and it's going to be tough, partially because we also, along with Tony V, we also no longer have our pitching coach Frank,
Yes,
right? And
it's a
so,
great point, dude.
and he was a big part of that pitching recruiting and being able to not only have that depth, but then also develop those guys, right? And so I think that's a piece that we're sorely missing as well. And
Yes.
Elander is going to have to figure that out as well.
I think, yeah, you just made a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, dude, because that's another thing people were discussing. Because I talked about how the pitchers like confused with guys on the bases. Well,
Yeah.
Frank told them basically to ignore the base runners, which listen, that got us in trouble at times, especially teams against teams like Kentucky who like to steal a lot. But ultimately, it led to guys like Liam Doyle or Chase Burns who just were focused on the pitch, just focused on the interaction between the current hitter and the pitcher, and it led to these like electric moments and the pitchers. The theory is essentially it hurt the pitching velo this year. It hurt the velo, and
Yeah.
that's why generally this pitching staff had less velo than it has in recent years. I think that's not the only thing to it, though. In fairness, it's not the only main thing, or I think one discussion point is Tegan Kuhns' inconsistency. Like Kuhns one
Yeah.
week is the best pitcher in the SEC, the next week he's not. And apparently he was sick during the regionals. That might have been a factor. Obviously not an excuse, but that was reported. But that's kind of been his journey here, man. That's kind of been his journey all along. So whether it hurt his velo or not, it's also just simply we didn't have as good as players as we've had in recent years as well. But yeah, dude, it's a fantastic point about Frank, and I think it's something that we kind of underestimated going into the season. Because remember, there
Yes.
for a minute we thought, okay, it might be possible that we're going to keep everybody. Like we're going to keep Frank. The only guy we're going to lose is Tony. But then like a
Tony.
month
Yeah.
later, Tony goes and
He,
gets Frank.
yeah. That way. And we mentioned it, but I think you're right. I think we probably should have talked about it a little bit more. And we said, hey, that's a little worrying. He's one of the best pitching coaches in the country. But man, yeah, we definitely missed his presence, all this season and into the tournament. So I don't know, man. It's tough. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We'll hope that Elander continues to grow. Any other thoughts on the baseball team, Austin? Their disappointing end
Not
here.
not to throw another stone at Danny White, but I don't know if you remember this. I don't know how many fans actually remember this, dude. But I think Frank was disrespected by Danny White because he was asked to be the interim. And I forget the phrasing of what he said, but Danny basically told him, "Hey, we need you to be like a, not a leader, but like a basically like the old wise man that just like leads us in the right direction during his interim run as the interim head coach." And I remember Frank's response to it was something like, kind of disrespect. Like he felt disrespected. I think that he wasn't even considered for the head
So
coaching
yeah,
job. That he wasn't, because like he never really was. It was really Elander in the field, and I think Frank felt maybe a little disrespected by that because Frank, when Tony brought Frank in, one of the main reasons was because he's been a head coach before. Frank's been a head
yeah.
coach, so I think Frank maybe felt a little disrespected, and that might have maybe was what led to him deucing out of here with Tony.
Well, I don't honestly. I'm shocked that Danny even t- treated. Apparently, Danny doesn't know any of the assistants. Apparently,
I'm
Danny
surprised
even
he even
barely
knew
talks to.
Frank.
Exactly. That's I'm surprised he knew how old Frank was, what Frank's background is. Maybe that's the whole problem, is that he just saw the gray beard and thought, oh, just be the old wise man until we
Yeah,
get a new head coach, not
yeah.
knowing that he's talking to a former head coach and potential candidate. And yeah, man, I don't know. That the Tony V, or I'm sorry, the Danny White stuff is, obviously a whole nother can of worms. But folks, let us know what you think in the comments, whether you're watching on Spotify or on YouTube. And if you're joining us for the live show, let us know what you think in the chat about this discussion. Tony V, would he have gotten a different result in this NCAA tournament than Josh Elander did. And do you think Josh Elander will be able to settle into his head coaching position, get a little bit more experience? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. But Austin, now we're going to talk about the good news. The good news is that while we're not going to get another baseball national championship this year, we are potentially going to add a national championship via Lady Vols softball. So, folks, we know that we kind of have mentioned the Lady Vols softball team a couple times throughout the year, especially early on. They were looking really hot to start the season. Austin, they've I don't even want to say fell off because that's a little bit too harsh of a phrase. But they lost a few games, kind of fell in the rankings a little bit, but have been a fantastic softball team all throughout the season and are continuing to show that in this Women's College World Series so far, Austin. The Lady Vols have thus far beat Texas, number 1 seed Texas, 6-3 in the first game. And then just yesterday, Austin, the Lady Vols knocked off Texas Tech 2-1 in the first extra innings game of the Lady Vols softball season this year, Austin. First time they went to extra innings. So it took, going into the after the 7th inning, we were tied at 1-1. So it took 9 innings. We went into the 9th inning, and finally a walk-off home run, Austin,
Electric,
from
man.
Emma Clark. And man, absolutely electric, and won the game. And so now, Austin, where we're sitting is the Lady Vols softball team is simply 1 win away. And in fact, they just need to win one of their next 2 games to advance to the national championship series. Awesome stuff, brother.
Yeah, it is really cool. The head coach Karen Weekly has been here forever. I believe she was the co-head coach for a long time, maybe the assistant head coach. But she's paid her dues, man. She's paid her dues, and our softball team has always been really competitive, just not able to win the national championship under Karen. So it's kind of cool that she now is in the best position that she has been to do so. Like you said, that Texas Tech game was fun. It was a pitching duel, and then the walk-off home run in extra innings. It's literally what our men's team could not do. They could not do that at any point. Right. But yeah, really cool, really happy for them. It was massive beating Texas, Blake. They're the reigning national champion. And that was also another gritty game. Softball's fun, man. Softball can be fun. I don't watch a ton of it, but I have been watching a little bit of the tournament. And it's fun to watch Tennessee because our pitching is just so good. So it is fun to watch that. But yeah, man, listen, no matter what sport it is, we're looking for national championships, dude. I love winning national championships. I love competing for national championships. Danny White has the everything school in his drafts ready to go.
Yeah.
And he
on Twitter, yeah.
The very first SEC loss at home this season during football, he'll fire it up. He'll do like a remembrance post to the softball team if we win it. Just to remind people, it's like, and also, I guess I am going to take more shots at Danny White. I'm out on Danny White for those that don't know and haven't listened to the show. This is yet another successful Tennessee head coach that he had nothing to do with hiring. Did not hire. So just add that to the list of all the people that were here when you got here. So don't take credit for it because you had nothing to do with it. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, just a little PSA there for Danny White. But dude, we really do love to see success in any sport. Austin, we've given a shout out to Vols sports ranging from Vols rugby to the freaking Microsoft Excel team. Okay, who's won a championship in Microsoft Excel. Yep. I don't even know if you can call that a sport, but if we win a national championship, we're going to talk about it. We're going to shout them out. And so, yeah, Lady Vols are on the verge of being in that championship series. So, folks, again, just to kind of reiterate, right now, as it stands, we are waiting to see who our next opponent will be. It's Texas versus Nebraska, both 1 seeds, Austin, if I'm not mistaken. And I know Texas is, and I believe Nebraska is as well. And so, essentially, they will play in an elimination game. And then whoever wins that game will play and that's happening today. And then whoever wins that game will play us tomorrow, Monday, June 1st. And then same for the lower bracket or the other part of the bracket, which Austin sitting on that side of the bracket is none other than the Alabama's Crimson Tide, and they are waiting to see
Oh,
who they are going to
wouldn't that be
play.
fun,
Between,
Blake?
oh man, so they're gonna play either Texas Tech or or UCLA and Austin. So Alabama is in the same position we are, where we just have to win one of the next two games. So
Yep.
we'll play tomorrow, and even if we lose that game, we're going to have another chance to win the following game in the following day. And then Austin, exactly like you just mentioned, it could be end up being Lady Vols versus the Alabama Crimson Tide in the national championship. That would be insane, brother. I would be,
Could you
man. It's
imagine?
one thing. It's one thing to win a national championship, but to
Yeah.
play Bama in a national championship,
And could
man.
you imagine that in football? Just Bama versus
Oh
Tennessee
yeah.
for a natty. That would be I honestly, dude, I would request to be induced in a coma during the football game because I would have
It would be too much.
too
It would be
much
too
on
much,
the
dude.
line emotionally to watch that football game if that were ever to take place. It's almost as crazy as Danny White inheriting two national championship winning head coaches, by the way, and it happening while he's here, so he gets to take the credit for it. That's pretty insane, Danny White. And he inherited Rick Barnes, 3 Elite 8s. Now Danny White's hanging those banners too. Rick Barnes was here when you got hired, Danny.
Well, so I had no idea. Apparently, we needed to change our overlay graphic here, Austin. Apparently, this was a Danny White hate session and not Lady Vol softball review. But I'm all for it because yeah, Danny White taking the credit for these national championship winning coaches and then losing one of them. Hopefully, he doesn't lose Kieran Weekly. But dude, you're absolutely right about the emotion behind playing Bama for national championship. I mean, Austin, back in 2022, I think I've told this story on the show before, but I was doing some Army stuff back in 2022 when we beat Bama the first time under Heupel, and I was in a daggum Buffalo Wild Wings down outside of Fort Huachuca, Arizona, and literally Austin, you talking about having to be induced in a coma. No joke, when Chase McGrath went up to kick
Dude.
that kick, I had to look away and I was like breathing. I had to like specifically I needed to breathe in a brown paper bag or something. My heart was palpitating so much that I literally got scared that I was about to have a heart attack. I thought I was about to have a heart attack over a football game. Yeah, so imagine, imagine for a national championship.
I
That would just be
couldn't.
absolutely nuts. But I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't take it. But Austin, the Lady Vols have a chance to potentially play Alabama in this national championship coming up. Even if we don't play Bama, Austin, it's going to be huge to be able to
If
play
we
for a
make it.
national championship.
Yeah, exactly. If we make it, and the opportunity is going to be there to win it, dude. If we make it, because Oklahoma, who's dominant in women's softball, is out, and if we beat Texas, they'll be out. So I feel like the best two potential teams are out of the tournament. So I think winning it
Yep.
is definitely a possibility. But yeah, man, I just reminiscing on that 2022 Alabama game. I could do that for a whole show. If you want to change the overlay, we can
Yes.
just do that. I will never forget it, man. The older we get, we need to tell young folks it wasn't just the fact that we hadn't won in 15 plus years. It wasn't just the fact that we were trying to get over on Saban for the first time. Dude, the winner of that game was going to be ranked number 1 in the
Yeah.
country the following week, dude.
Yes.
So much was on. It's not like we were 6-3 and we were just trying to upset Bama. Like
No.
this was like when we won that game, we're thinking, "Oh, dude, this is the year. We're in
Yes.
1998, but we're
It
actually in
feels like 98.
2022, man." That's what it felt like.
Yeah, and of course, I don't even we did some what ifs earlier with Tony V, and
Oh,
it's too emotional for me to what if if Hendon hadn't gotten hurt and
I know,
we
man.
beat South Carolina and all that good stuff that year. So yeah, we won't go down that road, but you're absolutely right. We could do it for a whole show. In fact, maybe we need to do. Let us know in the comments, folks, if you guys would like some retrospective shows, reminiscing on some old games. Because you're right, Austin. That it was the stakes were never higher, and I mean, it's an instant college football classic for a reason
Yep.
because, the implications of the game. So huge stuff. The rivalry means a ton. So, Lady Vols, if you all get to the national championship, especially if
You
you get
gotta
there and you
win
got to
it.
play the Crimson Tide,
Gotta
it
win
is
it.
it is imperative. You
It's
have to
crucial.
win it. So, folks, we're going to keep a pulse on the Lady Vols softball team as they continue their run in the Women's College World Series. So Austin, the national championship series would be later this week, and it would be just, I mean, barring some sort of like weather delay or something, it should be decided before our next live show next Sunday. So,
Sweet.
folks, we will definitely review the end of the Lady Vols softball season next Sunday, win or lose. Although hopefully, Austin, we've got a thumbnail celebrating a national championship by next Sunday. So we'll be looking forward to that. But now, folks, we're going to transition to a couple football offseason bits of news for you guys because we got to keep you updated on football during the off season. And specifically, Austin, we're going to start by doing a follow-up on our most recent clip. So we recorded a standalone clip that just dropped a few days ago. If y'all haven't seen it, the clip on Chaz Coleman, sounding the alarm on Chaz Coleman, Austin, because essentially the long story short is Chaz Coleman hadn't shown up yet for summer workouts, and he had already missed part of the spring and all the practices in spring, and he missed the orange and white game. So it was a kind of a dire situation, Austin, when Chaz Coleman doesn't show up for summer workouts. He's expected to be one of our best defensive players, if not the best, and his NIL is valued at $2 million. Well, finally, Austin, according to Brent Hubbs and a few others that have reported that as of this past Friday, apparently Chaz Coleman finally showed up for summer workouts. So he is on campus, Austin, but apparently the future is still uncertain. And so, I mean, we got to talk about that. Like, what's the deal? It's still kind of a mystery.
And I don't know what that means. Like, does that mean we're debating kicking him off the team? Because he's not hitting the portal. The portal ain't open, big dog. So that's not an option, Blake. So I don't really know what Hubbs means by his future is a mystery. Like, that's a mystery to me. Like, what does that mean? Like, I'll be honest, I haven't looked. I don't know if he elaborated somewhere or what. I guess what it would have to mean is are they going to discipline him? Are they going to, because at the end of the day, dude, like, and we got some comments saying, like, why would you even want him on the team? It's like, well, I can tell you why, because I don't want to go 7-5. That's why. It's as simple as that, dude. And I get the counterpoint to that, which is, well, you have to punish guys for not being at practice. And I agree with that. I mean, I agree with that. And we kind of did criticize Heupel as, hey, it's been 3 years in a row of this. What's going on? But at the end of the day, dude, if you're paying a guy $2 million, we need him to be productive. And I think he is our best chance at having a productive edge rusher this season, Blake. So I do want him to be here. I do want him on the team, and I do want him to play well. I mean, obviously, because I don't know if you see the color we're wearing, if you see the color Blake's wearing, you see, like, I'm rooting for the Vols, baby. And I want the Vols to do well. And I think in an ideal scenario, Blake, I think the best case scenario is he plays well for us and he plays. Because again, I think he could be our best defensive player. So we need him.
Yes, exactly. And, look, the counter argument to that is, okay, well, he might have potential to play well, but are there character concerns, and is he going to be a concern in the locker room? Because people have been, fans have been rightly pointing out, and folks, let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. People have pointed out that this has kind of started to become a consistent issue from even going back to Jeremy Banks, Austin, although Jeremy Banks was that's a kind of a separate case. But then, of course, you got Nico and that situation where he holds out of practice. Of course, that was for more NIL money. But and then, of course, the Boo Carter situation, which I think this kind of seems a little bit more akin to. And it starts to become, it's like, okay, do we want that in the locker room? Now, here's the deal. Again, giving the benefit of the doubt to Chaz Coleman. The official word, quote unquote, reporting, if you want to call it reporting, is that there's quote unquote extreme homesickness. Now, let me just go ahead and say, I'm just going to go ahead and say homesickness is not like, I get it. Like,
We ain't
okay,
buying that on Vol Talk, bro. We ain't buying that
no,
on
we're
Vol
not
Talk.
buying it. Like if you're missing home, okay, I get it. But you're also like, you're an adult. It's, like
FaceTime, brother.
that's not an
FaceTime.
excuse. It's exactly. It's not an excuse to. So there was that, and then some people are saying mental health issues, which is probably related to the homesickness, and then possibly vertigo. I've officially read that people are saying that there's possibly now Austin. For those of you who don't know,
what's vertigo, Blake?
yeah, so we had a conversation before we started recording, before we went live. Austin wasn't exactly sure what vertigo is. Look, folks, the easiest way I know to describe it, this is how I know it. It's advanced dizziness, okay? It's advanced dizziness. Now, people with vertigo probably would take exception to that. So, and I know that there are extreme cases of vertigo. But the point is, Austin, there's all these things that are kind of floating around. And look, if there's actual health issues, then okay. But I mean, we talked about before we went live, Austin. It's like you've got medical support at the university, probably the best you'll get anywhere.
Yeah.
So why not be on campus to get support? If there is something like vertigo, or even like you can probably get counseling if you're struggling mentally or whatever. And so it seems, and plus, Austin, here's the final thing I'll throw in there that kind of muddies the waters on this a little bit. According to Eric Ainge has officially said on his show that according to people he knows inside the program, Chaz Coleman has not been paid more than $25,000 so far.
Okay.
So we're going to shelf that. We're going to talk about the NIL situation in a second. But my point is that apparently he actually hasn't been paid that much. So it's interesting to me, Austin, that, okay, if you could possibly get $2 million, but you're not showing up to practice. Why
Because,
are you not wanting to? Because you're homesick?
Well, because of advanced dizziness. And now listen,
brother. I don't know. That just seems. I feel like there's something else going on.
Yeah, and to the victims of vertigo, we apologize for our lack of sensitivity on the topic. But because listen, I mean, I really didn't know what it was. I had to ask Blake, and it's advanced dizziness according to him. So whatever that means, if you're dizzy, man, sit down, bro. Sit down. I mean, team meetings are inside, and I'm sure you get a chair. Just sit down. So I don't know if the vertigo thing's gonna fly with me. And I'm with Ron in the chat. He says I wouldn't miss home if I made $2 million. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, I gotta agree, 2 million, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, dude.
Yeah.
And for homesickness, I don't know if I'm buying all that. So listen, I think there is more to the story. I told you before the show, Blake, one of my biggest issues with this, because we're debating vertigo, we're debating homesickness, we're debating mental health. This is why I can't stand when coaches, it's not just Heupel, but coaches, and that includes Heupel, do this coach speak. And they don't just tell us what's going on. And because listen, maybe you're trying to protect the kid or whatever, but it's not just that. It's, it's during the season. We just want to know who's going to play, and you're hiding injury stuff. It's like, dude, just come out and tell us so we don't have idiots like us on a podcast having to speculate what it is. If it's extreme vertigo, let us know, because if it's extreme vertigo, you'll have less people talking about what happened on Instagram, less people calling the kid character ish, like having character issues. Like, people wouldn't be talking about that, man. If you come out and said, listen, Coleman has extreme vertigo, we're working through it, we got him with the team doctors, like, just reassure us, dude. And say, like, what are you trying to hide his availability for Furman week 1, Blake? Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing, man? Like, we're not, like, we trying to have a competitive advantage. You won't tell us that Chaz Coleman has a vertigo, advanced dizziness.
I mean, and look, again, folks, this is not a medical podcast, okay? So we know that it's not actually advanced dizziness. There's more going on, but that's all I know it as, okay? That's all I know it as, advanced dizziness. Now, Austin, the only thing I can think is okay, maybe there's like some sort of HIPAA issue where Heupel can't. He's literally legally not allowed to come out and say a medical
Yeah.
issue, right? And so I don't know, but to your point, it's like, look, if there is a way to get rid of the speculation, then just do that. Which is because all that does, Austin, is when we do hear, okay, well maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Well, then it just feeds into the speculation that, okay,
Yep.
are these just excuses? Like, are these
Yes.
fake? Like,
Yes.
are they just like, this is what we're coming up with to try to cover something that's deeper going on, like whether Coleman doesn't want to play for us or he's looking at another school or whatever the case may be. If you can get rid of the speculation, then yeah, I think you should do that. So now going back to the other bit, right, which is and part of the firestorm that happened was, okay, he's not showing up for practice, but then he's posting on Instagram with all of his money and all this. Again, according to Eric Ainge, he is not. He's only been paid 25,000 so far, right, or possibly less than 25,000. Only Austin, a couple, $20,000. That's chump change in the
Mm-hmm.
world of that we're living in now. But it's like, okay, so then it begs the question. Well, first of all, it answers this for us, which is, we had this point, and then people got in our comments and made this point. It's like, hey, we need to structure our NIL deals to where we're not getting fleeced like this,
Yeah.
and people are getting paid and then not showing up for practice. According to reporting, I don't know if it's true or not, but according to reporting, we do structure our contracts where they're kind of back end oriented, right? Where it's
Mm-hmm.
either monthly installments or it's like, after games have been played and things of that nature. And allegedly we haven't actually paid Chaz Coleman more than 25K so far. Okay, so that makes us feel a little bit better. That makes me feel a little bit
It
better about
does.
the situation, honestly. But then the question that it just begs the question, what are you doing missing out on 2 million?
Yeah. With that on the line, there's no doubt. And 25,000, that's a lot more than the tacos that Arian Foster wanted in college, Blake. It's cost a lot more
Yeah,
than those tacos.
hey, and inflation, brother. I mean, you're talking
Dude,
back in 2009. Arian Foster just wanted him an 89-cent beefy
dude,
five-layer
that's all he
burrito.
wanted, dude. That's all he wanted. So,
That's He just wanted some late night Taco Bell, man. And I
and
don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. But listen, man, at the end of the day, you're right. 2 million's on the line this year, just for this season. Plus, competitive. Like, we're not even talking about the competitiveness of, like, do you want to be a good ball player? Do you care about winning? Things like that. Like, I feel like the discussions, like, that meme with, like, the mom holding, like, the child up in the pool, and then you have, like, the skeleton at the bottom of the, like, just
Yeah,
rotting. That's
yeah.
like talking
Drowning and
about,
rotting.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's the will to win, your legacy. That's just all rotting at the bottom of the pool now, because all we're talking about is money and NIL. But yeah, dude. I mean, he's got 2 million on the line this year. And Blake, think about this. Let's say in an ideal world, which we're a fan of the Vols, so that's never really exist. The ideal scenarios. But let's say he comes and plays well for us this season, and let's say maybe even next season. Well, guess what, Blake? Then he's got the NFL contract on the line. Then he's got a big, big money contract on the line. And not to mention, he's likely going to have to move for that, man. So you might want to get the vertigo, the advanced dizziness, the homesickness, all that under control before your name's potentially called in the NFL draft.
Well, and even Austin, the optics of it, right? That's only hurting your chances for NFL getting drafted and getting
Without a
landing a big
doubt.
NFL contract.
Without a
The
doubt.
optics of not showing up to practice. Like, you got to figure out a way. If there are, again, we said, look, if there's legitimate things that aren't being said, then okay, right? Like a serious family issue or something like that. But if you're homesick, brother, you got to figure a way. Like, I don't know, man. If you're getting 25K a month, just move the family over to Knoxville, man, for the season. If that's
Why
what you're
not?
homesick about,
Why
I don't
not?
know, man. Yeah, it's very interesting. And at the end of the day, Austin, my last thought on it is, it just goes back to what we've said before with Nico and Boo Carter. It comes down to the people in his life have got to be better mentors.
Yeah,
That
I
these
agree.
young players need. need better mentors in their life who will actually look out for their interests and help them. And sometimes that is tough love, and sometimes it is like, hey, you might be homesick, but your future depends on you kind of pulling up your bootstraps and going to, which by the way, we're saying pull up your bootstraps to go play a sport, right? Play a game.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good gig if you ask me, but I digress. Anyway,
Yeah.
these players need better mentors, man.
They do. And I'm glad you brought that up, because you have to at least mention the kid's 19, 20 years old. And a lot of what's happening, you can, at least attribute to the adults in his life. Because they are kids in a sense, maturity wise, definitely still kids. You can just tell by the Instagram post. And at the very least, there needs to be something financially for these kids, like financial assistance in a way, or advice, financial
Financial
advisors.
literacy. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
literacy and advisors. And that's something I think Tennessee should focus on, because hey guys, maybe we're in spring ball, we have a meeting, and we at least mention to our players, hey guys, let's not go flaunt our 25 grand that we made this month on Instagram. It's just a bad look. There's literally zero benefit to it. Zero. None whatsoever. Because really all you get from that is now your broke cousin wants a few G's, because
Yeah.
you got it like that, Mr. Chaz Coleman. Okay, let me borrow a couple of those 25K. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all you're getting from that, bro. I'm telling you, that's all you're getting from that. And that's something I feel like, it should be his parents, but if it's not going to be his parents, it's not going to be a close mentor in his life, at least let's bring it up in a team meeting or something. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because it's fair. It doesn't mean that he's void of responsibility. We're not saying that, because at the end of the day, you're a grown man, and you gotta, like, you're 18 plus years old. You're considered a man by the law, so you gotta make good decisions. But it at least needs to be said.
It does. So we're gonna hope that Chaz Coleman starts getting some good advice, whether it be from his family or from the coaching staff. But he is allegedly in Knoxville, so welcome Chaz back to Knoxville. Hopefully he can get some good summer workouts in and get ready for this season and make an impact. And then this can all kind of be in the past. But according to some around the program, it's still a mystery. So we'll keep a pulse on it, folks, and keep you guys updated on the mystery that is Chaz Coleman and what's going on with him. Austin, I've got advanced dizziness from all this different information swirling around.
I was about to say, let's get that advanced dizziness under control once and for all.
Yeah, because I'm getting dizzy trying to follow the situation. So. But folks, finally, we're going to end on some more offseason football news. And really, Austin, this is just kind of another kind of small update similar to the Chaz Coleman update, which is the QB battle, and more reporting being added on that it's looking more and more like Faizon Brandon is leading the competition for the starting QB job. Austin, this time, Pete Nakos has reported that Faizon is kind of, in position to be leading the competition and in position to eventually be the week one starter. And Austin Nakos was the one who broke the Nico stuff when Nico was leaving. And he's the one that really kind of got under the skin of Nico's dad and got Nico's dad calling him a B word and all this.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Which means that he's spot on with his reporting when you've got the guy so mad that he's calling you a B word on social media. So point is, Austin, this guy seems to seems to have good sources, and he seems to be on top of his stuff.
Yeah, Nakos is good. He's really good. I told you I think he's in with Chris Lowe, and Chris Lowe knows everything Tennessee football. He did report that Faizon's ahead, man. And honestly, dude, with Nakos saying it, with was it Wallace? I think Trey Wallace saying it, or maybe I'm getting his name wrong. A couple other beat guys in Tennessee saying it. Man, I think it's a wrap, man. I do. I think it's a wrap. and maybe I end up getting egg in my face, but I think, I mean, it's just like the Joey situation. Like it was like what, July, or not even then, maybe even sooner, even maybe even before July, even though he didn't, I think he got on campus in June, where it was like, okay, Joey looks like he's going to be the guy. And it wasn't official until like 2 weeks into August, but we kind of all knew. I think it's going to be Faizon, which is just fascinating, man. It's fascinating. I don't know the last true freshman starting quarterback. I Did Dobbs start as a true freshman at some point during his true freshman season? I'm gonna have to
That's
look
a good
that up.
question.
I'm gonna have to look
Yeah.
that up. I'll get back to y'all, but it's gonna be the first true freshman starting quarterback in quite some time here at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, it's definitely fascinating. Because you're absolutely right that it's been a while, and honestly, I don't know if I certainly can't tell you the last successful
Yeah.
true freshman starter. According to a quick Google search, it might have been Brian Maurer, Austin, if you remember Maurer. Back in 2019, which obviously we don't really want to remember back in
Oh
the
no,
Jeremy
did
Pruitt
Maurer
years, but
start as a true freshman?
yeah,
Oh,
apparently he may have gotten some stars as a true freshman. So look,
that's
like,
not good
but
company.
I don't think he was the week one
He wasn't. He
starter, and
definitely wasn't
so
the week one
exactly,
starter.
exactly. So it's like it would be certainly
That's a good
very
question.
very kind of quote unquote unprecedented for us to be starting a true freshman for week one. So it's interesting, man. But and look, Nakos is saying what a lot of other people are saying. Austin, you kind of mentioned he's probably trying to possibly give himself an out if it ends up being not true. But he's saying, hey, look, he's in a position to win the starting job, and he keeps Nakos, like other people are saying, hey, going in, everyone kind of thought GMAC was the probable starter, and we thought that as well, Austin. But it seems to me like if all of these reports are saying now that Brandon is in the lead, then
Yep.
that seems to suggest we hope. We've talked about how it's still possible that GMAC is just not looking good at all, which is a concern if that's why. But we
Yeah.
hope that it's because Faizon Brandon is just showing out
Yeah.
that much in practice, right?
I hate to say it, but from what I've read, it seems like it's the former of what you just said, which is
I
MacIntyre
hope
has
not.
looked like buns, dude. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Basilio, that's what he's saying, dude. He says MacIntyre looked unplayable at points, which looking
Yeah.
unplayable is that's a
That's a
tough one.
stretch. That's a
That
stretch.
It's a stretch, but that's a tough one to overcome. When someone is quoted saying you look unplayable, that's not good. That's not good. It's gonna be hard to come back from that. Here's a tidbit for you though, Blake. I looked up last week one true freshman starting quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers. This is what Google said. So if you have a different answer than Google, don't get mad at me because it's what Google said. Okay. I haven't done deep enough research. According to Google, it's Brent Sheffer, who, funny enough, because you brought this guy up on the podcast today, was the last true freshman starting quarterback to start week one in the season opener for the Vols. He took the first snap alongside Eric Ainge in a platoon
Dude.
system to start the 2004 opener. So that's a tidbit, if I have to say so. That's insane. So
Wow.
technically, he started at
20
quarterback,
plus years.
but yeah, but he wasn't really even the starting quarterback. That was Eric Ainge's
Yeah.
job. They just started off in a platoon. Like, I don't know what that's kind of odd. So yeah, that's interesting though. That's a little tidbit.
I actually remember Brent Schaefer. And now that you mention it, I kind of remember when he and Eric Ainge were splitting snaps, man. That's crazy.
Because I guess, was
That
Ainge a freshman that year too? I think Ainge might have been a freshman that year.
I think he might have been. If not, he was a redshirt freshman,
Yeah, he
or
was a
or
freshman that
sophomore
year.
or what.
Because his senior
Yeah,
year, they
so
went to the SEC championship in '07. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
that's crazy. Yeah.
That's a
So
very
over
similar
20 plus
situation.
years since we've started Yeah, it is. Well, you talking about in terms of the experience of your
Well,
quarterbacks and
yeah, because two freshmen. I mean, even though MacIntyre is a redshirt freshman, it's two freshmen battling it out for the
yeah.
starting job. So that hasn't happened since '04. And I don't know what our '04 record was, Blake, but I don't think it was good. So it definitely wasn't Former's best year, if I had to guess. So I don't know what that means for this year, if anything, but guess we'll see.
Yeah, well, it wasn't too bad of a year. Fulmer didn't start going downhill until after about 2006, 2007. We I believe we went 10-3 in
Okay.
2004. So not terrible, and we ended up beating Texas A&M in the Cotton Bowl that year. So
That's not
hey,
bad at
look,
all.
it's not bad at all. And I'll tell you this, Austin. Eric Ainge, look, he's not quite Casey Clausen level, okay, but Eric Ainge is another underappreciated quarterback in our history. So he did end up beating out Brent Schaefer for the starting job. So we'll see. But Austin, if these reports are any, like it seems like people are saying that it's not going to be some situation like 2004 with Schaefer and
No.
Eric Ainge, that it's going to be. I mean, people seem to be saying like, hey, it's looking like Faizon Brandon is just going to be the outright starter. Now, as Rhonda and other people have mentioned in our chat and our comments, does that end up looking like a 2022 situation or 2021 where Milton was the clear starter and then we got a change to Hendon
Yeah.
Hooker because he looked better in practice, but then in the game it was totally different. Who knows? That obviously we'll see once the season starts with that.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Because I mean it can be compared to that because Faison is the toolsy guy. I don't remember if there's any reports saying Hendon Hooker looked unplayable. But I guess I guess we'll see. But yeah,
True.
I don't know, man.
That's true.
If I had to put money on it right now, though, it's definitely going to be Faison week 1. And we'll see, dude. It's always it's a tough ask. True freshman in the SEC with the 9-game schedule, unprecedented. I mean, that's never happened. I can tell you there's never been a true freshman quarterback to start 9 SEC games. And we'll see, dude. We'll see if the leash is long, but I think, yeah, dude, I think it's a wrap, man. These national reporters, the beat writers are all saying Faison. And I've always said all along, this is the last point I'll make on it, Blake, is that with Faison's tools, once he's ahead in this job, he's not going to lose it. Because as far as really the only reason Faison wouldn't start is because he doesn't know the playbook yet. He doesn't know the plays.
Right.
And that's only going to get better. That's not going to go backwards. You're only going to get more knowledge of the playbook and more knowledge of Heupel's system. Your tools aren't going away. So I think once Faison's ahead, man, I think he's the guy. I think he's going to be the starter week 1.
I think you're absolutely right. Makes complete and total sense. So we'll see, folks. We're going to keep a pulse on it. We're going to continue to bring you off-season football news as we get more information about Chaz Coleman and about the QB competition. So far, it's looking like Faizon Brandon might be our week 1 starter. So we will see. I know that's going to make a lot of Vols fans happy. Hopefully the results on the field make us happy as well, Austin. But folks,
Yeah.
look, if you're just joining us, we appreciate you. It's been a fun show, Austin. We're about to wrap up here, but if you missed the top of the show, we reviewed the unfortunate disappointing end to the Vols baseball season. But Austin, our Lady Vols softball team is on the verge of making a national championship appearance. So we're going to be keeping a pulse on that as well. Again, folks, we will know the results of the national championship in ladies softball by next live show next Sunday. So be sure to tune in for that. And for continued off-season football news, Austin, we're going to keep bringing all things volunteer sports to the good folks at home. So it's been a fun show. Shout out to all the people in the chat, Ryan and Eric Jones and everyone else in the chat. We really appreciate you. Again, drop us your thoughts in the comments down below, whether you're on Spotify or YouTube. And folks, we will see you all on the next live show. Until then, as always, baby, go freaking Vols.
GBO.